Okay. Hello, everybody. So I think we should get started because it's only 20 minutes, the total amount of time that we have. Um, so, um, so today we will continue with the first section of the first chapter. I think you've completed all the section before the question and answers. So, so we'll go over some of the question and answers today. And see what you have to say about that. But before that, um, I just want to ask um, if anybody would like to share anything that they have that struck out to them in the section that we have covered until now, which is the first section of the first chapter. I can share the screen so that your memory is refreshed of like what I'm talking about. But if anyone would like to say just one point that maybe stood out for them, um, so that the reason I'm asking for this is so that we can do a very short recap of the content of the first section of this chapter, and then we'll go to the questions because then it becomes easier to answer the questions if we have a some memory uh, of what we went through. So let me share my screen here. Um, all right. So this is lesson one. Okay. Um, so I'm just going to very quickly scroll over this this section. Okay. And if you if and I'll do it in 1 minute. And if anything that you can remember from any of these sessions that you've had until now, please either put it in the chat or just say it out loud, uh, because then really that will help all of us to refresh our memory over this section. Okay, so would give the timeless science, torchlight of wisdom, in these quotes by these famous people on Bhagavad Gita. Does scientific knowledge make me humble? The solar system and our tiny existence. Uh, some fundamental aspects that we discussed. Everyone is a servant. We all seek relationships. We seek proprietorship or possession, temporariness. Um, then the wonders of creation, our living body.
So, hello, Chahat. I think your audio is not from microphone, so it's not
Oh,
coming very much clear.
were you able to
Uh,
hear even little bit or not at all?
yes, it is audible, but not very clear. So just once check if the audio is coming from the microphone itself.
Okay, yeah, let me check. Um, um, audio. Speaker is my Bluetooth. Yeah, it is what it should be. Um, is this better?
Yes, this is much better.
Okay, I'll just hold my Bluetooth device right next to my mouth. Okay. If in case somebody was not able to hear me, I was just asking that if anybody remembers any point that was discussed in this first section of the first chapter, please either put it in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and speak it out loud. That will help us refresh our memory because we have already finished this first section. So just revisiting some points will help. Okay. So I was just going through the sections of the first chapter so that just to jog your memory. Then we talked about the wonders of creation, um, the, including the living body, self-replicating machine, and can we replicate the miracle? So these were some of the topics that we have seen. So let's see. Yes. Okay. So, would anybody like to mention any one point that they remember from the first section? Any one point? Nobody remembers any point. Okay. Alok Kumar Mishra has written something in chat. Gita is a timeless science, eternal. Wow, that's a very good point, Alok. Alok. So why is it important? Let's see. That is one of the topics that was discussed. That Gita wisdom is timeless. Now, why is it important? Because if you think about it, um, we have hardly ever come across anything which is timeless. We have never come across anything which is eternal, right? If anybody can think of something that they see around them which is eternal, then please feel free to say that. Um, but we actually have never, if we think about it, we have actually never come across anything which is eternal or timeless. Right? Everything in the world around us, it is completely temporary. Everything, whether it is some things, for example, the laptop that I'm using, the jacket that I'm wearing, or even the body that I have, all of them are temporary, few years, right? Or the constructions around me, the building that I'm in, or even the school that I go, the college that I go to, anything, or even the theories. We are saying Bhagavad Gita is a timeless science. So even science, it is not timeless. You know, it came into existence. Some scientific theories came into existence a few years ago, a few decades ago, and almost all of them have undergone change or have been replaced. So everything that we see around us is temporary. Every single thing, right? Um, so therefore, to come to know about something that is eternal, that is that should be shocking to us, right? Because we have never come across anything eternal. So this is a very significant point, that Gita is an eternal, timeless science, and we can see it by the impression that it has left on this planet. It was spoken 5,000 years ago, and here we are, uh, after 5,000 years, speaking about it, across across the continents. So it is a timeless science. Yes, it is a timeless science because it talks about general principles. Um, it also talks about some details, but mostly about the principles that govern this world and our lives in this world. So, very nice point, Alok Kumar Mishra. And then Mayank Chaurasia has written, "We are all servant." Yes, that is also a very significant point that was covered in this first chapter, because it's again not trivial. It's not a trivial point. Nobody talks about it, but it is very much a fact. And actually, this is one of the. Um, Let me share my screen again quickly. That is also one of the questions here. Um, that we are supposed to cover. Yes, everyone in this world is a servant. Justify your answer by relating the different roles that you play in your life. So this was discussed that everyone is a servant, right? And if somebody doesn't have this understanding, that it may sound very, very strange, that we are all servants, but it is very much a truth, very much a truth. Um, and so now let us see. Now let us explore this point. This is actually one of the questions which is worth exploring. Um, so can um, can anybody give one reason to support this point? One example, let's say, to support the point that we are servants. Because I'm sure this was covered, so it shouldn't be very difficult to come up with an example. But just one example to show that we are a servant, and I'll discuss more.
As teacher serves student and mother serves child,
Mm.
we are
Yes,
serving
yes,
in one another.
Yes, very nice. Who was that? Who spoke?
Mayank Chaurasia.
Mayank Chaurasia. Yes. Thank you so much, Mayank. Yes. The teacher serves the students and students serve the teacher. So this is a very relevant example because you are all students. And the teachers, the professors that you are that who are teaching you, they are serving you. Yes, they are making sure that you understand everything that you're supposed to understand. So yes, they are serving you, and you are serving them. You're doing everything that they are telling you because you want the marks. So yes, very very relevant example. Um, and another example that I can think of, because for example, I'm a PhD student. So in PhD, that is very much like clear, very clear cut. The PhD student, he or she serves their PhD advisor, their professor, quite literally. Everything, like, you have to ask them, what should I do, and then they tell you, and then you do that. So it's almost like, very much like a servant. But again, there's a relationship. And then so you are serving the professor, and then the professor is also serving you, because then they have to make sure that you are taken care of in the lab. You have all the resources that you need. Wherever you want to go next, they have to help you. So yes, there is a reciprocation of service between the professor and the PhD student also. Yes. So very nice examples. And then Pradyumna Avasthi has written that we are servants to our desires and needs like hunger, lust, etc. Yes, that's a very good point, Pradyumna. Because somebody can ask me this question that, okay, you are saying that we are all servants, but then what about a person who, because for being a servant you have to have relationship, you have to interact with people, then you will serve. But what about a person who's just in his room, sitting all the time in front of a TV, or in his laptop or computer, and he's just watching something on that, all the time. So he doesn't seem to be serving anybody, you know but Pradyumna is saying, no, he's serving his desires and needs, like hunger, lust, and he's totally consumed by them. We have to serve our hunger. That's obvious. And then also things like lust, greed, envy, these lower emotions, these which form our lower self. They are always there, unless obviously we work on them. They will always be there, and you will have to serve them. We will be servants of these lower desires unless we work on them. So very nice point, Pradyumna, that even if we may not be serving these people, we are always servant to our lower nature. And then if somebody has worked on himself, if somebody has made spiritual advancement, then also he serves. But then who he serves changes. That is the only difference. Whom we serve changes. So when we become spiritually advanced, then we serve God, and we serve everybody around us. We serve everybody because we realize that everybody is part of the same family that God has provided us. So it's very nice points. Um, we only have 5 minutes left, but thank you everybody for your inputs. We'll quickly go through these questions.
सर
We have already gone. Yes.
सर सर्वेंट कौन नहीं है?
कौन नहीं है? कोई, मतलब हर कोई है। ऐसा कोई नहीं है जो सर्वेंट नहीं है, हर कोई सर्वेंट है।
तो सर इस
हर कोई
क्वेश्चन
है।
का कोई मतलब ही नहीं हुआ फिर।
नहीं, क्वेश्चन है एवरीबडी इन दिस वर्ल्ड इज अ सर्वेंट, जस्टिफाई योर आंसर। तो जस्टिफाई करना है, ये एक नया पॉइंट है। अगर भगवत गीता इस LGLG में नहीं पढ़ते तो यूजुअली किसी को ये इस बारे में हम सोचते नहीं है, राइट? तो ये नया पॉइंट है, तो इस पॉइंट को जस्टिफाई करना है कि कोई भी नया पॉइंट होता है उसको वी हैव टू शो दैट इट इज ट्रू, सो टू दैट वी हैव टू जस्टिफाई इट। तो जस्टिफाई करने के लिए वी कैन गिव एग्जांपल फ्रॉम आवर ओन लाइफ, और वी कैन गिव जनरल एग्जांपल फ्रॉम एवरीबॉडीज लाइफ। तो ये है इस क्वेश्चन का मतलब, राइट? राइट,
सर
यहाँ
हम
पे ये
ऐसे
नहीं
क्यों
बोला जा रहा है। हाँ,
सर हम ऐसे
बताइए।
क्यों नहीं कहते कि हम एक रचयिता की रचना है, मतलब आत्मा की परमात्मा की एक आत्मा है?
यस,
ऐसे
हम वो
क्यों
भी
नहीं
कहते
कहते?
हैं। हम वो भी कहते हैं, और ये आगे आएगा। आगे LGLG जैसे आप पढ़ेंगे, दिस विल बी वन ऑफ द पॉइंट्स दैट कृष्णा सेज इन भगवद गीता, वो कहते हैं, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल 15th चैप्टर में लॉर्ड कृष्णा सेज मम एवंश जीव लोके जीव भूत सनातना, दैट all the living entities, they are my amsha, they are my parts, and then he explains that concept. So जो आप बोल रहे हैं कि हम सब परमात्मा के अंश हैं, that is a very completely correct point, and that is also an identity that we have. But the servant is also an identity, and actually ये दोनों linked हैं, ये दोनों linked है, दोनों different, एक दूसरे से अलग नहीं है, because we are parts, as you are saying, as the jeev is atma is the part of paramatma. Therefore what is the duty of a part, what is the duty of a part? जैसे जैसे ये जो मेरी उंगलियां हैं, ये मेरी बॉडी का पार्ट है, तो ये उंगलियों का क्या काम है? उंगलियों का काम है मेरी बॉडी को सर्व करना, राइट? मुझे मुझे खाना चाहिए तो उंगलियां जाएंगी, खाना लेंगी और मुंह में डालेंगी। उंगलियां खाने को खुद से तो खा नहीं सकती है, वो सिर्फ बॉडी को सर्व कर सकती है। और क्योंकि वो बॉडी को सर्व करता है, क्योंकि मेरी उंगलियां बॉडी को सर्व करती हैं, तो उससे उंगलियों को डायरेक्टली ऑटोमेटिकली नरिशमेंट मिल जाता है। खुद से तो उंगलियां कुछ नहीं कर सकती, अगर कोई एप्पल होगा कुछ नहीं कर सकता है उंगली उस न्यूट्रिशन के लिए, लेकिन इफ उंगलियां सर्व द बॉडी, then the body will digest the food, and the ungliya they will get nourishment, right, automatically. So similarly, when the part serves the whole, or when the atma serves the paramatma, this service, again the point of service, then that automatically it gets the fulfillment that it needs, right? So automatically part को fulfillment मिल जाता है अगर if it serves the whole. So yes, they are both related, and what you're saying is absolutely correct, and it ties in with what we are talking about here in terms of servant. Yes,
सर
very
किसके
nice
लिए
point.
सर्विस कर रहे हैं सर?
Yes, बस वही चेंज हो जाता है, वही चेंज हो जाता है। अभी तो हम किसके लिए सर्विस कर रहे हैं? वी आर सर्विंग आवर बॉडी, वी आर सर्विंग आवर बॉडी। जब भूख लगती है तो तो हंगर को सर्व करना पड़ता है, और वी आर सर्विंग आवर टीचर्स, क्योंकि हमें मार्क्स चाहिए, क्योंकि हमें एक अच्छा CPI चाहिए, क्योंकि हमें जॉब चाहिए। तो वी आर सर्विंग, राइट? सो इन सब की अभी हम सर्विस कर रहे हैं, बट व्हेन वी रियलाइज आवर ट्रू नेचर, देन वी विल सर्व that person that is that is the best acceptor of our service in that state. So when we realize our true nature as spirit soul, which will some of it has come in this chapter and some will come in the later chapters. In other words, when we know our identity, then we'll know who to serve. Unless we know who we are, we wouldn't know who to actually serve. We have to serve somebody, किसी को तो सर्विस करनी है, लेकिन किसको सर्व करने से मैक्सिमम बेनिफिट मिलेगा वो नहीं पता है अभी। वो तब पता चलेगा जब हमें अपनी आइडेंटिटी पता चलेगी। जब तक आइडेंटिटी नहीं पता चलेगी तब तक तो हम ऐसे ही कुछ भी करते रहेंगे, राइट? तो पहले आइडेंटिटी अच्छे से समझ में आएगी, देन वी विल नो हू टू सर्व। बट या, वेरी गुड पॉइंट, वेरी नाइस क्वेश्चंस।
सर एक क्वेश्चन और है सर, मान लीजिए हम एक अच्छा गीत सुन रहे हैं जो आनंद दे रहा है मन को, तो क्या वो भी एक सेवा कहेंगे?
अच्छा, आप गीत सुन रहे हैं तो क्या वो भी एक सर्विस है? हो सकती है। In many cases it is possible, yes, because although in case of music it may not necessarily be the case. We basically also want some pleasure, हम सबको थोड़ा pleasure चाहिए। So again, it is our nature, so we seek out music, things like that. So usually it may not necessarily directly be a service, because it's our nature, but in some cases it may become more of a, let's say, addiction to some. To not everybody this happens, but sometimes it can happen, that they become addicted to a certain kind of metal, rock, those kinds of musics, and they're all the time they're only listening that. So in that case they do become servant of that. They are not able to even come out of it in some cases, but usually, yeah, we do it for pleasure, because again that ties in with our nature. जो मैंने बताया, what is our nature? We have not completely discussed that in the first chapter. We will discuss later on, but our nature by definition is that we are pleasure seeking. That will come later on. जो जीव है उसका nature है, there are certain parts of his nature. One of them is that it is pleasure seeking. उसको हमेशा आनंद चाहिए। तो because that is our nature, So we seek out music which can give us that pleasure or anand. So yes, so that's again a very nice question. So we discussed question number 5 here. Um, we couldn't discuss many others, and our time is up.
I
But
think you can continue.
okay,
I
I'll
think you can
continue for a
continue
very.
till for 5-10 more minutes.
Okay, I'll quickly continue. So what we will do is we'll quickly cover these 5 questions. We'll try. We'll not spend too much time, um, but we do want to cover it because I would like to say that I covered something. um, that so question 1 is, what kind of questions cripple you? So we have to answer these questions based on your own experience after having read this first chapter. The first question is, what kind of questions cripple you? So cripple का मतलब होता है something that makes us very uneasy, you know, something that can really affect us very deeply in a negative way. So that is the question. What kind of questions cripple you? So oh, I'm not even sharing my screen. Okay, but I already told the question. So can anybody think of just one question that will cripple you? एक ऐसा सवाल जो आप खुद से पूछें तो आप बहुत uneasy feel करें और बहुत uncomfortable feel करें. कोई can anybody think of such a question?
What I am doing right now
Okay,
means
who said that?
मैं ओमकार जागीरदार
Omkar Jahargidar. What I'm doing right now.
means for
Oh,
what I
that's.
am doing this
Mhm.
all for what is final thing
हाँ.
what I want.
Okay. Like, जो मैं whatever I'm
इतना
doing.
सारा जो भी पढ़ाई वगैरह कर रहे हो वो किस लिए कर रहे हो, एंड में जाके करना ही क्या है?
Yes.
वो जो
Yes.
चीजें है वो चीजें तो कोई और भी कर सकता है बिना पढ़े.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Very wonderful. बहुत बढ़िया, Omkar. Very nice question. That I'm doing all this. I've come to IIT, which is considered, the best college in our country. And I'm doing so much studies. और मैं तो छोटे बचपन से ही इतनी स्टडी किए जा रहा हूँ और करते जाऊंगा आगे कई सालों तक. मैं why am I doing all this? Anybody can do this. Then what is so special? What is meaningful about this? This is just some path that is this just some path that somebody has told me, oh, I have to do these, but it has nothing to do with who I am. Then why am I even doing all these things? So yes, this question can be crippling because it's a very deep question. And it's a question that we all have to ask. We should ask at least once to ourselves. And these questions that we are discussing here, they are really meant that we think about them deeply in our own time. Because unless you start thinking about these questions, you will just follow what other people have thought. So you have to have independent thought. You shouldn't be just dictated by what everybody thinks and tells you to do. That is why Bhagavad Gita really, it's one of the main purposes is to make us a thinker. So that will come up later on more in the LGLG course. So yes, that's a very good point by Omkar. Alok, yes.
I was saying there are some answers in the chat also. You can
Yeah. I was just looking at them. So Alok Kumar Mishra has written, "A day everybody will die." Yes. So the corresponding question will be, when will I die? Or something like that. But again, that's a very crippling thought, or it can be a very crippling thought, because we base everything on either the relationships that we have or the things that we possess, right? Everything we base on these two things. The relationships, जो लोग हैं हमारे पास, उनके साथ जो हमारा relationship है, उस पे either we base everything, or we base our trust, our time, our confidence on those things, or the things that we possess. Those things could be our body, like our looks, or even the degree that we have or we are going to get. So those relate to our own body. So these are the things that we base everything on. We base our self confidence on these things. We base our identity on these things, right? But everyone will die, including ourselves, everybody, right? So that is again was one of the things that was said in this first section. Everybody, everything in this world, and we also said everything in this world is temporary. Every single thing. You cannot think of one thing which is not temporary. So therefore, we have to be very careful what we attach. What are the things that we attach ourselves to? Because whatever we will attach to, that thing is going to end most probably very soon, right? So, and when that happens, that attachment will either turn into fear for losing that thing, or it will turn into sorrow or pain for having lost that thing, and everything we attach ourselves to it is going to end. So yes, it can be a crippling thought. um, and then the Vedant Garg has written, what is the purpose of life? Yes, this may be either a crippling thought, if you have never thought about it and you are like 70 years old, or it can be a rejuvenating thought, which is the next question. What are some rejuvenating thoughts? If you are young, like you all are, and you like to think, and you are in the right guidance, which you all are, so it can be a rejuvenating question, because that gives you the opportunity to actually use your life in the right way according to what your purpose is, which will lead to a meaningful life, as compared to a life, just going around doing things, as I think somebody was saying, Omkar or somebody, doing things because everybody does it. That is such a purposeless life, right? Or because everybody says you should do this. Oh, you should do this. This is very nice. This is very nice. So yes, again, very nice answer by Vedant Garg. And he says he has posted another question. After death, will I join the Supreme God or continue the life cycle again according to my karmas? Yes, yes. This is a very important question. Very important question for everybody. What will happen after I die? We just discussed that we all will die, but then what will happen after that? You know, this, I don't know how much of this has been covered about two things which are mentioned in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita: the temporality of the body, that the body is temporary, and the eternality of the soul, that the soul is not temporary. So both of these are always true. So after I do die, what will happen to me? Something will happen to me, but what will happen? And again, that will depend on how I act. How I act, it's totally up to me. Whatever happens, it's totally in my hand, pretty much. I can decide what I want to, where I want to end up after this life. So it's in my hand. So again, if we will live a life of purpose as defined by Bhagavad Gita, then we will actually be very calm and peaceful at the time of death, because we know that our next destination is very wonderful. So yes, very nice question by Vedantkar. Okay, the next question there is, what kind of questions rejuvenate you? Which means, what kind of questions give you joy, happiness, or some inspiration? So one of the questions we already discussed, the purpose of life. If we ask that question at the right time and having the right guidance, but can anybody think of just one example of a question that will rejuvenate you, that will make you joyful or happy? Think of a question that will rejuvenate you, that will give you joy. Okay, Naren Rao has written, "Who am I?" Yes, just reading that question, I'm smiling, because that is a very wonderful question. Again, it depends on when you ask this question. Even if you ask this question when you're really old, like 80 years old, even then it's actually a rejuvenating question, because if not asking this question is the most depressing thing. It's the most like, what did you do in your life? But whenever you ask this question, it should rejuvenate you, because then it will make us think of who we really are. And some of the points were discussed in the first chapter about who we are, like some aspects of who we are, those were discussed. But yes, that should really rejuvenate you, because once you understand who we are, we can actually act with purpose. Finally, finally we can act with purpose. So it's a very rejoicing thing. Yes. And then Pranay Dutt Dubey has written, "Who is my true master?" Yes. Very, very nice point. Very, all of these points that everybody is writing, they are really wonderful. And I can see, because these are some of the things that Sir Dr. Lakshmidhar Behera, he often discusses these points, because these points are really of value. So Pranay Dutt is saying, who is my master? Who is my true master? That gives me joy. Why? Because we just discussed in the first section that everybody's nature is that they are a servant. So they have to serve somebody. That somebody will be the master whom the servant serves. So who is the true master? Who is it? Who should I serve? I have to serve, but who is the best person to serve? You know. So that gives us that's a rejuvenating question, because when we try to seek that true master, then it will automatically give us happiness, because we know actually who to serve. This is actually something that science has shown also in a paper published, I think, in 2008, research paper published in 2008 in the journal called Science, which is the most reputed journal in the field of science. Um, there was a very nice paper which showed, so there was a nice experiment. What they did, they had two groups of people, and both groups of people, they gave $20 and told them that you can do whatever you want over the course of today, and then at the end of the day we will ask you some questions. So one group was asked, one was told that you can spend this money on yourself, do whatever you want, buy yourself something, and the second group of people were told that you have to you can use this money as a gift to somebody else. You can give a gift to somebody else. So they both did that, and at the end of the day, different questions were asked to them, including how they feel, and it was shown after repeated experiments that the group that was told, and the group that actually used the money to buy a gift for somebody else, was significantly much more happier, and happiness was measured by certain many different parameters, was significantly much more happier than the other group, which spent the money on itself. So that was a very shocking result, and that's why very simple experiment. It's such a simple experiment, but it was published in the Nature, in the journal Science, which is very hard to publish in, because it's a very non-intuitive discovery. Everybody would think that spending the money on myself will actually make me happy, which is why how we spend all our money. But this research paper found that actually when we use the money to make somebody else happy or to serve somebody else, that actually made the person who's giving the money even more happier. It's a very shocking finding, but again, it's in line with the same idea which we are discussing in the first chapter, that we are all servants, so we have to serve somebody, and that's what gives us happiness. So if serving people, normal people around us, gives us happiness, then what to think of how much more happy we will be if we know our actual true master whom we should serve. So yes, that's a very rejuvenating question. And that Ajit Singh is saying, हम मशीनें बनाकर गलती तो नहीं कर रहे हैं. Yes, yes. Very, very nice point. We are making machines all the time, so much so that the machines are now replacing us. So are we on the right track? Should we be doing this? The machines have really simplified our life. They have made life more convenient, but obviously it has so many more negative effects also that we see. Maybe not so much in India. It's coming slowly, but here in America, it's very, very visible, very easily visible. The machines, they have really taken over every small thing that you can do. And what will the person do now that all the work is being done by the machines? They're just wasting their time. They don't have to do much, so they're just wasting their time, either in front of the TV, just eating, being very lazy. So it has made us much more lazy. I can see this very clearly here. So is it really helping then? It made life convenient, but it's not necessarily made life healthier, and it's not necessarily made life happier. So yes, it's a very nice question. All right, I have taken too much time, and we still have a few questions left, but I'll quickly go through them. I don't want to take too much of your time. Um, Question 3 was, have you ever read or heard Bhagavad Gita? What kind of expectations do you have when you turn your attention to Bhagavad Gita? Maybe I should share my screen. Um, so that you quickly see these questions. I'll just say one small thing about these questions. So, have you read the Bhagavad Gita? You are already reading the Bhagavad Gita as part of this LGLG, and you've also attended the 5-day session. What kind of expectations do you have? Well, that you can ask yourself, and you should ask yourself. You know, what do I expect to know from Bhagavad Gita? Um, Fifth question we have seen. Fourth question is, what kind of proprietorship do we really have? Narrate from your experience. We don't have time for this question, but um, just give some time to this, maybe 5 minutes, to just think about this question. What kind of proprietorship do I have? Proprietorship means things that I own, things that are really mine. What are the things that really belong to me? And narrate from your own experience. Is there anything that really belongs to you? And ask that question. There is an answer to this question. Ask that question. What does really belong to me or to anybody, any person? So yeah, so these were the 5 questions that we had to discuss today. So thank you everybody for joining. Sorry I took too much of your time, but all the best with this course of LGLG. It's a very wonderful course. I'm taking this. I also am taking this course. It's really, it can change the way we think and we live, and it should change the way we think and we live. That's the whole purpose. So thank you everybody
Yeah,
for
Chahat, very nice
your time.
session. Like I couldn't figure out when 40 minutes went. I just thought it's just the session just started, and it went so smooth, and I was very happy to
Yes,
hear
everybody
you.
is so nice. Everybody participates so nicely. So it becomes very, very enjoyable.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would also, I have a small request. I would like that you share some of your experience. Like, you are Y11, I think Y11. So you have a
Hmm.
lot of experience. So these most of these students have not yet visited campus till now, but you have lot of experience. So a brief
Hmm.
you can share about your experience of IITK with sir and how Bhagavad Gita helped you in your life and all those things.
Oh, okay. Okay. I will not take too much time, but I will say that yes, the IT experience obviously is very nice. It's a very wonderful campus, very clean, very beautiful
सर
campus. Um,
सर एक
and
क्वेश्चन और था कि
mhm. Yes, yes.
सर
Uh,
ये था कि मतलब आईआईटी में मैं फिजिक्स का स्टूडेंट हूँ तो ये स्पिरिचुअलिटी में कोई रिसर्च करना चाहूँ तो वहाँ गाइड मिल सकती है क्या कोई अभी एमएससी है तो
yeah.
पीएचडी करूँ
अच्छा, आप एमएससी में हैं अभी कि बीटेक
यस
में
सर
है, बीएस में है? अच्छा, एमएससी में, ओके। या
एमएससी
डेफिनेटली देयर इज, IIT is the best place for you for that. Best place to do research on spirituality because people are already working on spirituality. It's very few other ऐसी universities हैं जहाँ पे इसमें research हो रहा है. Very very few, hardly anyone. But IIT is one of them where this work is happening, and the main person who is spearheading that work is actually Sir only, Dr. Lakshmidhar Bera. He's spearheading it, and he has many students who are actually working on many interesting aspects which are related to spirituality. And there are some professors also now who are slowly, helping him in that aspect. So yes, you are in very good hands. That now you're in IITK. So if you want to do this research, reach out to any of these mentors of LGLG or to Sir directly, and they want to do this research because this is fundamental research. This is, research actually has some value. So yes, you're in very good hands with these mentors and Sir. So they will help you with that. Yes. Yeah.
थैंक
So
यू
yes. So yeah, just to very quickly describe. So yeah, it's a very nice campus, beautiful. When you go there, you'll also find out. And everybody is very helpful. All the teachers, all the professors, they teach very nicely, as you are already seeing in your last semester and this semester. Um, Obviously, one turning point in my life when in ITK was actually meeting Sir and this whole group that Sir has. That really was a turning point in my life in ITK. Before that, I was also just a normal student doing normal things. But after coming in contact with Sir, it really completely changed my whole experience. And I wanted that change. I really liked that change. I really enjoyed it because then we talked under the direction of Sir. We actually talked about things which are of value, and not just talked. We did things. We practically did things that are in line with with what we are discussing. So not just some talking or discussing, but also doing things. So Sir is very active, and obviously all his students very active. So you will never feel bored because there is always some activity going on, and the activity is actually very joyful, very joyful. It's very deep, and at the same time very joyful. So in other words, it's very meaningful, very meaningful. A lot of things that you'll see in ITK will be not so meaningful. They may seem very fascinating in the beginning, but at the end you'll realize not so meaningful. It's waste of time. But the time that I spent with Sir was very meaningful. I still remember many of the points that Sir talked about when I was sitting there in his house, listening from him. I still remember because they were true then, they are true now, and they actually affect my life in a very positive way. So I was very fortunate. I always feel myself to be very fortunate that I came in contact with Sir and all the students there who are associated with this group, because it really changed my life to the extent that now I am in this university here, and I'm also trying to do something similar here in whatever little capacity I can. So uh, Bhagavad Gita is very transformative. It's supposed to be. If after reading Bhagavad Gita you don't see a change in your life, then you have to ask yourself, did I actually study it properly? So yes, and Sir obviously is a he lives Bhagavad Gita. He's a yes, from morning to night. So yes, we are very fortunate actually, all of us, because very few professors will go out of their way to teach you not just what they're supposed to teach, but because they're getting paid for that. But Sir actually will make sure that you uh, are completely you grow as a person completely, spiritually and materially. He takes total care of you. So therefore we are very fortunate to have come in contact with Sir, and all of you are too. So again, so congratulations on that, and all the best for your time in ITK, and with LGLG, and with all of these wonderful teachers and mentors and students. So, and thank you so much for spending so much time with me. I took too much of your time, but thank you so much. All right.
Yeah, thank you, Chahat. Yeah, I'm very happy that you shared a very valuable experience. I would also like to invite you more frequently. I think our students also want to hear you more frequently. So, okay, thank you. I'm ending.